Hey, good morning, everybody. We're reading from Luke chapter 5 today, the first 11 verses, and it's continuing in the life and the ministry of Jesus. And we've read in the verses before in chapter 4, especially that Jesus has now started to teach and to heal. And so a big crowd has followed him. And Luke tells us that they were convinced that Jesus somehow had the Word of God. And so we pick up the story with Peter. Peter had been out on his boat fishing, and it had been a long night of fishing. And he was washing his nets for the next night. And so Jesus asked Peter, could you row me out in your boat so that I could use that and teach from out in the sea, so that more people could see me from the shore. And now we know Peter had to have been very tired after a long night, but somehow Peter knew that there was something unique about Jesus. After all, he had just healed Peter's mother-in-law, and so Peter agrees to it. We pick up in verse 4. It says, when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out where it's deeper and let your nets down to catch some fish. Master, Simon replied, we have worked hard all last night and didn't catch a thing. But if you say so, I'll let the nets down again. Now, remember, Peter's the one who is the professional fisherman. And Jesus is advising him suddenly on how to go out and fish even during the daytime. And so, and think about it, Peter had already washed his nets, and despite all this, Peter replies, Jesus, if you say so. You know, Peter didn't know that there was going to be an enormous catch of fish coming his way. I think it was very much reluctant obedience. I don't see it. I don't agree with it. It's not at all clear what you're doing, Jesus. But once again, there was something inside of him. He'd seen Jesus in action. He'd heard him teach. And there was just enough faith inside of Peter that he knew he needed to take that first step to listen to him. And that was, of course, his first step of being a disciple. And so let's read what happens. It says, at this time, their nets were so full of fish, they began to tear. A shout for help brought their partners in the other boat. Soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. See, Peter was so overwhelmed, next we read, that with this miracle, and he became so filled with fear that he felt sinful and next to Jesus. And he says, Jesus, go away from me. This is just too much. But in so many words, Jesus was not going to let Peter go. And he says to Peter, and I think he's saying the same thing to us. He says, I know who you are. I know you're not perfect, but I have plans for you. I have a new life. I have plans for your life. You will keep fishing, but you will soon be fishing for people, for the hearts of people. Jesus gives Peter, and I think Jesus gives us a new mission, a huge gift, a way to invest our lives that really matters. Let's read on. Jesus says to Simon, don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people. And as soon as they landed, they left everything and followed Jesus. Now, as we read on into Luke's gospel, we find out that fishing for people is really another word for loving people. That's what Peter describes a little bit later, where he would write in 1 Peter chapter 3 these words. He says, and if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it. But do this in a gentle and respectful way. So here's what I'm going to remember from this passage. Number one, always say yes to Jesus. Jesus, if you say so, I'm going to do it. Always know that as we respond to Jesus, Jesus has the best plan possible. And the second thing I'm going to remember is that though none of us are perfect, I'm certainly not, Jesus still calls us to be fishing for people, to sharing his love with them by being gentle and respectful and bringing our hope in Jesus to others. That's our calling, and there's nothing better than that. Have a great day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.